Hello, GW, and welcome back to Colonial Crossfire's Top Headlines. I'm Jessica Nix, and here is your weekly wrap-up. The United States is expected to reach 250,000 deaths from the coronavirus pandemic this week. Unfortunately, during October, almost all U.S. states and territories saw an increase in positivity rates. Just this week, over 400,000 new cases have arisen, bringing the U.S. COVID-19 count to 8.75 million cases. Many states are seeing their highest daily cases since the start of the pandemic. To help combat more records from breaking, nearly 10 states and territories have halted or reversed their reopening plans, including Illinois, California, Texas, and Alabama. Their governors are hoping that they can lower the spread before the holiday season officially hits, where millions of Americans are expected to travel. The New York Times investigation into Trump's tax returns continued this week, with reports of the president having a foreign bank account in China. Throughout the Trump administration, we've seen a rocky relationship between the United States and China, from a Chinese trade war to Trump praising China's coronavirus response to Trump now calling the coronavirus the, quote, China virus. The Chinese bank account does not show up on any of President Trump's public financial disclosures. In other national security news, the director of the National Intelligence and the FBI director had a press conference this week about Russia and Iran meddling in the United States election. Iran has reportedly been sending emails to Americans posing as members of the Proud Boys, an extremist right-wing group. Personal information like physical addresses were found in these emails. And Russia has also reportedly been hacking into state and local computer systems in an effort to meddle with the election. This week was the final presidential debate and the last chance for candidates to make their case. With a little over a week until Election Day, here is Maddie Katz breaking down the final showdown.
Thanks, Jessica. In the final presidential debate of 2020 on Thursday night, President Trump and former Vice President Biden debated a variety of topics, including climate issues, immigration, justice reform, election security, healthcare, and more. Each candidate attacked the other on corruption claims. Biden pointed to Trump's unreleased tax returns, and Trump pointed to the lack of transparency surrounding payments made to Biden's family by foreign government officials after working with them as vice president, according to a Treasury Department report. On the issue of immigration, each candidate blamed the other for children being separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. Trump put an emphasis on the Obama and Biden administration building cages for detained children, while Biden put an emphasis on the Trump administration not yet reuniting 545 detained children with their parents, to which Trump claimed he is currently working on. Trump and Biden showed their fundamental differences in vision on dealing with climate issues. Trump was primarily concerned with keeping the U.S. energy independent and keeping carbon emissions low, while Biden was primarily concerned with making electric cars more accessible, expanding the windmill industry, and closing down the oil industry. Compared to the previous debate, Thursday's debate had far less interruptions with the implementation of the new policy to mute candidates' microphones when they ran out of speaking time. Because the debate was more policy-oriented, it could have an effect on uncertain voters. However, 47 million Americans have already participated in early voting, and most national polls show that voters are locked into a preferred candidate. Back to you.
Thanks, Maddie, and welcome to the team. Judge Amy Coney Barrett was officially confirmed by the Judiciary Committee on October 22nd. The 12 Republican members voted in favor, while the 10 Democrats on the committee protested the vote by not showing. In their place were photos of people who benefited from the Affordable Care Act. A rule in the Judiciary Committee is that at least 2 members of the minority party must be present for a vote to occur. Chairman Lindsey Graham said that he would ignore the rule and confirm Barrett anyways. The Senate floor vote is set for Monday, October 26th. With the likelihood of Barrett joining the High Court soon, let's look at some recent Supreme Court decisions and cases. The Supreme Court ruled against the GOP recently in a case about mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Republicans were challenging a rule under the state's constitution about extending the absentee ballot deadline. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled against the GOP, and in a 4-4 tie, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected the GOP appeal and sided with the state court. With Barrett waiting for her robes, her seat could have broken the tie to rule in favor of the Pennsylvania GOP, which could have opened up a whole new legal battle of Supreme Court meddling in state election procedures. Next up on the docket is a case about President Trump's border wall spending. In June, a federal appeals court ruled that the government improperly used $2.5 billion of money for building the border wall rather than for its intended use in the Pentagon. The case is also looking at the policy of sending Mexican asylum seekers back to Mexico while they wait for their hearings. After the Supreme Court announced that they would take the case, even more speculation about Barrett's actions ensued, especially after Barrett's non-answers on immigration policy during her confirmation hearings. That's all for this week. Stay tuned for next week for the last wrap-up before the much-anticipated 2020 election.